Yo people, another beautiful day in Belgrade. I'm out on my bike, I'm headed down to show you Kalemegdon Fortress. If you come to Belgrade, it's like the #1 thing, can't miss it. I'm gonna show you 3 entrances. I would call them my favorite entrance, the entrance most people take, and the entrance that is well known as being the most beautiful. If you've seen the video up there in the corner, you'll probably recognize right here behind me is the bike elevator that we took to go over to the other side. And so if you're interested in seeing that part of the city, like coming down from where we live, which is upriver and Senyak, check out that video. Otherwise, we're gonna head from here down to the fortress. I'm gonna show you your way around. We're gonna go into 2 churches. They're very different and very cool. Let's do it. This is kind of the old city waterfront. If you're interested in sitting near the water in this part of the city, I'd highly recommend these restaurants right here. There are a couple of them that are really nice. One is called Amber and another one is called Frida. Both a little bit pricey, but you pay for what you get and you got a beautiful view. And that's it. One of the things I've been trying to show you is how small and easy this city is on a bicycle. And if I were gonna help you plan your trip, that would be one of my top things to do is rent bicycles and just go up and down the river and see all of these cool things. Next, we're gonna head up into that fortress. I gotta find a place to go lock up my bike and we're headed out on foot because it's quite a bit of stairs. This is one of my favorite things about heading in from this direction is you don't get a view that's really nice of the whole fortress from the outside if you come in the other entrances. But from here, you get to see the way it's kind of like a series of retaining walls where the Ottomans used to put armaments, and that's most of what this fortress is. You also get some really nice views of the dude up there. It's a victory monument. There's some cool stories. I'll tell you in a minute. Let's head in. So we'll get some better views of the city from up there. But this is one of my favorite views of the Victory Monument. There's this funny story. It was actually made under the communist period when the culture was much more conservative. I don't know if you can tell from here, that dude is naked. He was put out in some neighborhood and there was all of these complaints, these old ladies complaining they don't want to look at the naked guy monument all the time. And so the statue was taken from there and it was put here inside the fortress because under the Yugoslavian era, this whole fortress was actually a military installation. So he was put here where no one would see him, and here we are today. It's kind of the center of the city, the first tourist thing people do. Go check out Victory Monument in Belgrade Fortress. My favorite reason to come in this way is that gate that's right behind me. So we're gonna get a pretty view of the city. We'll go in and I'll show you some more. Let's check it out. So one of the ways you can really tell that this city is an Ottoman fortress is by these little turret things. They're really cool. They add a lot of character. In the distance out here, you can see this big ornate church. When you get up close to it, it doesn't look like anything special, but you can tell from far away, it's actually really cool. I believe it's called the Church of St. Michael, but it's actually the seat of the Archdiocese of the entire Serbian Orthodox Church. It's a very important religious site here in Serbia, and if you have the time, well worth checking out. Well, you've seen a bit of the view of the fortress from out here. Let's head in, and I'll show you, this is why this is my favorite entrance, right over here. If you come in from this direction, you're gonna run into the Roman well, which is neither Roman nor is it a well. There is an underground tour you can go and do. I would definitely check out the walking tours, and the walking tour of the city is well worth it. But when we did that walking tour, our guide did not really sell this one well, so we didn't do it. The one thing he said, this does sound really cool, is if you go in, you'll get to see Tito's bunker, which sounds interesting. Let's keep on our way in. And right in here, you get a pretty decent panoramic view over the city. There's better views right up that way. It's kind of like the sunset view that's really famous here. But if you watch that video up in the corner, near the end when we get to Zemun, try to point out some things. And you can see right here, we're kind of standing in the middle of it. The river going off down that way is the Sava. And behind me, way over there, is the Danube going like a T. Right here, we're at the confluence of the rivers. And maybe you can make out, there's an island right there in the middle. That island is Great War Island. So the Sava splits and goes around it on both sides, ends up in the Danube. And you've already seen Victory Monument. Let's go up here and check out the really cool view, like the sunset view. And then I'm gonna show you some really, really weird stuff that I don't think you'll find anywhere in Europe outside of Serbia. Let's go check it out. Interesting fact, this tower right here was actually built by the Romans. Civilization in this area is super old, definitely pre-Roman Empire, but under the Byzantine Empire, this was one of the major seats of the Roman Empire. I mean, we're not that far from Constantinople, right? So it's interesting, if you walk along the waterfront out in this big park area, you will see some Roman ruins that are legit Roman, and that tower is one of them. Here we are, one of the most famous views in Belgrade. It really truly is the perfect place to watch a sunset. And from here, you can definitely see what I was saying. Right over here, you see the Sava River heading out this way. Confluence of the rivers goes around Great War Island, and then right up at the end over here, the Danube. Maybe you can just make out, way in the distance over there, is Kalemegdon Fortress. And if you watch that video in the corner, you'll see that's where we end. And it's actually my favorite view in Belgrade. But this one just might be a close second. So the third entrance I'm going to show you today is the one most people think is the most beautiful entrance. And it comes through this gate right back over here. And so we'll end up there in a little while. For now, I'm going to show you something weird. Of course, a fortress has got to have bunkers and tunnels. And in some places here in Belgrade Fortress, you can see that there's a bunch of stuff going on underground. Welcome to the Belgrade Wartime Museum. It's crazy, but there's this big outdoor exhibition full of like tanks of different makes from different countries. It's one of the few places I've ever seen in Europe where they're actually proud of their military. And I'm glad to see it. I actually think it's really important. It's very, very cool to see the different construction and the way things are put together. I've always loved engineering. And you see like even like the tank treads on stuff like this. It's just obviously this tank's missing its treads. But just the way that it's put together is totally different than the way that this one is. I love looking at this stuff. It's fun times. And where else in the world do you see children playing on tanks? I don't know, only Belgrade for me. And here we are at the end of the free outdoor exhibition, permanent exhibition, I should say. Like it's always out here. It will be here if you come to Belgrade. It's fun to check out. But since we hit the end of it, next I'm gonna jump over to Old Town. I'm gonna show you the entrance from there. Most people, just for convenience, this is the entrance that you will end up taking. If you watch that video in the corner, then you might recognize behind me is Old Town. And so as you cross the street here, entering not really Belgrade Fortress yet, you come through Kalemegdon Park. So we actually call it Kalemegdon Fortress, but technically the park is Kalemegdon and it wraps all the way around. You'll see more of it in a bit. But coming from this direction and also coming from Dorchal, you cross through Kalemegdon Park in order to get into Belgrade Fortress. If you come this way, you'll pass by all these street vendors. Honestly, this stuff's not that expensive, and some of it is pretty unique. I have seen some things here that I haven't seen in any souvenir. If you want souvenirs, it's not a bad place to check stuff out. At this first little intersection of paths, you turn to the right, you'll end up at this little circus area. It's kind of fun. It's little amusement things if you got kids with you. But my recommendation would be don't turn right, take a left. You'll see there's this big wide open view. Definitely well worth it. If you're lucky when you come, this area next to this little fountain and statue often has festivals. So there might be like food trucks or some sort of concert going on, something really cool, and it's definitely worth checking out. But as you continue on, you'll find there's some tables where people sit down and play chess. I still haven't made it to sit down and have a game, but I'm pretty stoked about it. So obviously entering directly from Old Town, you go straight in and you get to this really, really nice view right over the Sava River. And from there, you can just turn right, you wrap around, and you continue through all these other really, really beautiful views over the river. People in Serbia love dogs, and you'll see they're welcome pretty much everywhere, even inside restaurants. Here's another reason, my recommendation, if you come from Old Town, is to go straight to that view, turn right and continue along the views. You end up with one of the best views, not from the fortress, but one of the best views of the fortress, in my opinion. So next, I'd like to show you what most people think is the most beautiful entrance to the city. I'm going to jump over to Kalemegdon Park over near a neighborhood called Dorchel, and we'll come in from there. Coming in from this last way, the reason I think it's really cool is that most people cruise right by these churches, but there's these two little churches that are very worth checking out. Let's go see it. Well, here we're back outside the walls of Belgrade Fortress. You can kind of tell we're in Kalemegdon Park. The other side there is Dorchel, and if you come from Dorchel into Kalemegdon, you'll find there's this little circus ground down here. It has like some little amusement rides and stuff. It's kind of fun. And then just keep heading up the hill. You're gonna end up this gate where we go ahead and enter Belgrade Fortress. If you take the walking tour, this is the entrance that they'll take. But what the walking tour won't show you is you're gonna cruise past two of my favorite churches in Belgrade. Let's go check them out. You come in from this direction, this is the first of 3 gates you go through, but it's nothing special. Let's hit the next one. This here is typically thought of as the most beautiful entrance. It's obviously because of these huge towering castle-like ramparts alongside the gate. Let's go in here and I'll take you and show you some of my favorite churches. Most people that can't come here end up cruising straight up through that gate on into Belgrade Fortress, and they do get that beautiful panoramic view. But instead of going straight in, after you pass the gate of Stephen the Despot, go down here. Come down this way, you run into these 2 cool churches. The thing to notice is like the church is just an Orthodox church, but the chandeliers are war themed. They're all made out of like swords and bullets, and it's cool and weird. And these statues out front are soldiers of different eras. Let's go check it out, and then we'll check out the Orthodox church. It's really pretty. It's all like mosaicked. It's awesome. When you visit any of the Orthodox churches, if you'd like to pay your respect, one of the things they do is at the little shop, you buy candles and you come out and there's always 2 different levels. And I forget which, I think it's you light your candles and put them on the bottom if you're praying for people who have passed away. And you light your candles and put them on the top if you're praying for people who are still alive. Kind of a cool way to pay your respects, say some prayers for your people, feel a little bit of that devotion. Next, let's go check out the most beautiful church that's right here next to the fortress. A lot of Orthodox churches have this theme of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You can really see it here with the Father with the triangle kind of halo thing, the Holy Spirit represented by the dove, and then Christ on the other side. This little cave area is super unique. So instead of having like the top and bottom tiers for where you light the candles for the living and the dead, they have 2 separate rooms. Oh man, I love this spot. So in the next couple videos that I post, I think I'm going to take you to go see some Orthodox churches because they are something totally different and I love them. The next one, I'm going to take you to the prettiest church in Serbia, maybe one of the prettiest churches I've ever seen. It's called St. Sava. It's the main church here in Serbia, and it's the second biggest Orthodox church in the world. If you're interested, I'll link it up right here. Ciao, ciao.